Night, mostly clear with a...
City looks so pretty, you'll see. Amarillo, and Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Nona, Big Sun, Moscow, St. Bernardino.
What's up, team? This is Robert Porter with the I Love San Bernardino County radio show on KCAA NBC 106.5 FM, 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, where we will talk politics, culture, and history. Today we have an incredible show, and Carmel Rose should be heading here shortly. She must be on her way, and she's probably listening to us right now. But I hope you know, Carmel Rose, that live radio waits for no one. We got Sandra Barra on a little bit later from Running for Second Ward. We have Mr. Burham here from the Colonies case and a real estate developer. And we have Mr. Luis. Yes, and he's what's your business?
Real estate investor.
Real estate investor, and if you're selling your home and you need someone to come on and buy it, he's looking forward to that. We'll talk about that a little later. And feel free to ask any questions if you wish. So, Mr. Burham, this is going to be a big show today. Thank you so much for coming on here. We really appreciate it, and we'd love to hear your side of the story of this Colonies case and the if it was politically motivated and how you feel about how Mr. Ramos treated you.
Well, I'd love to share it with you. I want to first of all thank all the San Bernardino County residents for throwing Mike Ramos out of office, because I know you and your listeners are big supporters of Jason Anderson. So I want to say thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, the reason I felt like we needed change, I honestly believed that if a politician is in too long, they do things that they wouldn't have done if they were a first-year politician. So I always vote for change. But once I started hearing that things were not going correct in that with that political corruption unit, I was really disappointed that we would have something like that would be based off political bias. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
You know, it's only about 10% of the municipalities in our country that have investigators and prosecutors in one unit where there's no checks and balances. Mike Ramos ran around this county with his own Gestapo, his own SS, that anytime he didn't like what the political will of someone, he could investigate them with his own team for as long as he wanted. And as we found out in my trial, he investigated us from before the settlement even occurred in 2006 till the indictment that occurred in obviously 2011 with me and the rest of others in 2010. So this went on for 5 years, taxpayer funded, at the will of a DA.
And basically a wholehearted waste of taxpayer dollars, right?
Waste of taxpayer dollars, but it was a personal vendetta for his own political will. And for anyone to have the power in our country that can use taxpayer dollars to go after an individual and take away their rights is not just.
It's a miscarriage of justice to do anything for political reasons, I believe. It should all be done because it's a value decision or it makes sense to help people. You were just trying to build a good development, a large development, and bring in tax revenue for the city, right?
At the time we bought the Colonies project, we were trying to replan it. The city of Upland was financially strapped. They were challenged. We planned development that already had approvals on it to bring in more tax revenue for the city. And through the process, we were challenged by what we think were politicians backed by other competitors that wanted to see our project fail.
And that's what eventually led to them treating you so badly.
Well, what it certainly led to is our challenging the interpretation of historical easements, our challenging of our First Amendment rights to be able to exercise our own property the way we choose, that we had the city's approvals on, and then we had to challenge the politicians and the city staffers in order for us, or the county staffers, in order for us to move forward.
Why did the tweaker guy, why did he plead guilty?
You know, Bill Postmus was a very bright star in our valley for a very long time. I didn't know his drug use. I didn't know of his issues in his life. I knew that he was inconsistent as a politician and returning phone calls, texts at times. But, he got caught doing drugs. He got caught allowing a young man named the name of Adam Elman run an office, abuse an office, got arrested for it, and frankly was still using drugs and would say anything not to go to jail. And the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office absolutely abused him, intimidated him, made him afraid.
Yeah, why didn't it seems like they should have prosecuted him?
Well, they did prosecute him. They made him plead guilty to crimes he didn't commit. He didn't commit crimes in the Colonies case, but he admitted to them. But they wanted him to plead guilty on charges that he didn't commit, or felonies he didn't commit, in return for them letting him out on his drug use charges. And what he ended up doing was finally sobering up, realizing what they had done to him, telling the truth in the San Bernardino courts, but has been criticized by the local newspapers and the DA's office for somehow their witnesses were bad, but they never once. It's the only large case in our valley where a attorney did not meet their main witness and ask them questions of the facts of the case. They sent investigators and read investigative reports. And that's because we believe they knew the truth and they can lose their bar license if they ask a question that isn't true when a witness is on the stand.
Oh, plausible deniability, huh? Interesting.
That's the San Bernardino DA's current way.
So you ran a bunch of ads, including the Stop Ramos signs that I seen all over the county. Hey, Carmel's in the house! How you doing? This is Carmel Roach. All right, what gave you that idea to run those signs like that?
By the way, there were many of us that, I have a lot of friends that have been supportive of me during my trial, and when we're sitting around smoking cigars.
Mr. Neil Derry?
Well, Neil Derry's been a good supporter through the whole process. He's been good. Jim Irwin, Mark Kirk, Paul Bien, obviously all of us former indicted felons have hung together through this process of getting acquitted. But the Stop Ramos really became a theme because we saw the abuses of this district attorney. And if we, former Sheriff's Union president, former chief of staff of a San Bernardino County supervisor, and a developer with the wealth that I have, if we couldn't stand up against a bully, who could?
And you stood up and won, and now he's got, what day does he have to leave office?
He can serve till January. I'm hoping he'll have the dignity to leave his office and let Mr. Anderson reform his office before then. But, this guy has never shown dignity in his whole life. So my bet is he takes the paycheck to the last minute he can in January.
I agree with you.
And probably take a poop in the path every single spot.
Yeah, well, some of us will be there watching him. I think he's looking over his shoulder for the first time in his life.
You did mention watching him, so you did a little research and you went to other cases that didn't have to do necessarily with yours, and you watched how those played out. How did that work?
Ramos is such a scumbag as a DA. Forgive me for using that language, but the fact of the matter is he's such a political animal that what he did is he went around and courted every association, every police officers association. And when police officers, I truly believe 98% of police officers are tremendous human beings. They sacrifice for the rest of us. But 2% of them make mistakes. Ramos went around this valley prosecuting victims of wrongful shootings in order for them to drop charges against, in order for them to plead to a felony, so they couldn't now sue under a wrongful prosecution and charge and get paid insurance proceeds. I went into 2 cases of his and watched his prosecutors try to prosecute victims of wrongful shootings for either supposedly carrying an illegal weapon, evading felony evasion, threatening the life of police officers, where no gun was found. Everyone knew there was no gun. But he threatened the families so that the families would have to drop the cases. It's crazy.
So if he did do these things, can Anderson bring him up on charges when he gets in there?
That's not my issue. I'm not a district attorney. I'm a real estate developer that saw the views and made. And,
I would hope.
I've given Mr. Anderson the ability to run his own office his own way. There have been a lot of statements about Jeff Burham is going to try to influence the district. You know how much a real estate developer has interest in a DA's office?
The propaganda.
Zero until they raid your house.
The propaganda worked on me at first, but now I did more studying. That's what you have to do with everything. You got to do more studying. And once I realized, wait, that some of these things didn't make sense that they're saying in the newspaper, that's why I wanted to have you on. Because
I feel like you freed the county, okay? I'm like honored. I want to bow down to you, okay? I think you did the best thing in the entire world to me.
I played Robert my video I made. I made a personal video the day after the election. It was that Disney theme of Wizard of Oz is Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. I sent that to Mike Ramos on Facebook the day after the election.
He did a little video. And he had put some music. And
let me ask you, so before a person gets a search warrant in the county of San Bernardino, does the DA have to sign for it?
I don't know that the district attorney personally has to sign for it, but judge certainly has to. So there's supposed to be probable cause. There's supposed to be probable cause to an ongoing crime, which is the big problem I had in my case because it was 6 years old. So what were they going to find of a probable ongoing crime of an alleged bribery that occurred 6 years ago? So, I've had a lot of problems with judges in this valley just signing search warrants at the request of the district attorney because the district attorney kind of strong arms them into doing whatever he wants.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
So, Mr. Anderson, please don't do that. Like the things that you're hearing on the show, we expect you not to do. And if you do them, you'll probably end up in the same position. So you have a good template of what not to do. And please go after the people that we really need to go after. Like the murdering thugs on the streets and the big-time gangbangers,
Well, crime is up. Violent crime is up in San Bernardino County 27%. And so Mike Ramos says, well, it's not my fault. Crime's up 27%. The state legislature let all these criminals into our community. But what is his responsibility is during why crime has spiked 27%, he filed 18% fewer cases in the last 2 years than he did the previous 2 years. And that's because he is spending money going after political prosecutions, cases like mine, where he spends $50 million of taxpayer money.
$50 million?
Hundreds to thousands of crimes he could have done on home burglary.
We could have fixed every pothole in San Bernardino County. Wow.
So did you actually ask Mr. Anderson to run, or did he run on his own?
I would have supported anyone, and I love Jason Anderson. I've known him for 20 years. Don't know him personally very well, candidly, but I know he and his wife Starla, and I've met their kids just recently. I would have supported anyone against Mike Ramos. We were fortunate enough when Jason decided to run that he was such a good candidate. I mean, he's a good family man. He's a good prosecutor. He's a great lawyer, and that's the reputation. And that's why when Mike Ramos tried to run negatives against him, all he could run is, he's a defense attorney for the last 4 years. Didn't mention he was a prosecutor for 17 years before that. But, he's a defense attorney. He represents child molesters and rapists and burglars and murderers. And, he prosecuted him for 17 years, and now he does it fairly, representing when they deserve. Everyone in our country deserves a fair defense. Mm-hmm. Mike Ramos has completely lost what the basics of ethics of someone that's a sworn officer.
It lost kind of lost sight of justice.
Well, me personally, I go through the court system. I've been through the court system. I use it, and I find that justice isn't really prevalent. And I'm anxious to see now that we have a new district attorney if we're going to start to see justice again.
I think that, candidly, I think Jason is going to really do a good job. But when you get rid of a corrupt human being like Mike Ramos is, anyone is going to bring justice to our valley.
Okay. That's good to know. I'm looking forward to some justice.
Do you think, more than politics, do you think you were targeted because you have money?
I don't think I was targeted just because I have money. I certainly think there's I've heard 20 different theories about why I was prosecuted, anywhere from competitors of mine in real estate that wanted to make sure I wasn't a competitor, to being a Republican because Mike Ramos was really a Democrat.
Yeah,
and
like
said he was Republican, but he backed Jerry Brown, Kamala Harris. So it was good to take
yeah,
out. And there was a whole
he always
theme
had an
behind it.
R, but like he never really acted like
And
one.
He has his plateaus that he states on about.
What do you think his next move is?
Well,
How's he going to counter you?
how's he going to counter me? I don't know, but tell him he needs to watch over his shoulder everywhere he tries to go get a job now, because I am making it a commitment to the San Bernardino County residents and any resident that's a voter that has rights anywhere in our country, that man won't have any jurisdiction over them. So if he runs for office, if he's dog catcher, if he tries to move to Kansas City and run for postmaster general, he's done.
Oh, that's
Good deal. I love to hear that.
That's how.
I'm sorry that he made you so mad, but I'm happy for the rest of us.
Well, he went around telling people, Jason Anderson told others that somehow that, what I did and what we backed financially in the mailers, calling him a sexual predator, saying he was sleeping with his assistant, Mary Ashley.
Those stories have permeated throughout the area. I always hear that he's like almost like a predator when it comes to women in the office.
Right. Well, the newspapers looked into it briefly and said, "Do you positively know?" I said, "I don't know anything. All I know is specifically everybody
People
knows."
don't talk about that stuff unless it's true. And if it's not true, it disappears after the election.
Well, I feel bad that he somehow feels that, for the last 5 months, we've run bad things about what he's done. Mm-hmm. But he ran for 7 years things that I didn't do with my children and my wife, reading the newspapers and listening to this stuff. So the least I could do as a man is stand up for my kids and my wife and let the San Bernardino County residents know what Mike Ramos does. And I wish that I could have had a conversation with him before he ran for election, because I'm enough of a human being, a Christian. I would have wished I didn't have to do that to him. I wish he wouldn't have run. Mm-hmm. And then he could just go off into the sunset. But that's not the kind of guy he is. His ego's so big.
He thought he was going to win.
He wants to blame me for it. He jeopardized his own family.
See, the thing is, I watched his campaign. He thought he was going to win. You could tell by the way he placed his signs and things. He thought he was going to win.
I thought he was never going to win.
He would have never thought he was going to win if he would have kept reading my post on his Facebook page and on Doug Posted's Facebook page and Grant Ward's Facebook page, all those union guys that were backing Teamsters, Prosecutors Union, Sheriff's Union. Shame on all of you. I mean, shame on all of you for backing a corrupt human being when you're supposed to represent justice in our county.
Shame.
And now we'll have a new district attorney in there and some new, hopefully new policies. And hopefully he'll go in wanting to do live by good intentions.
Now I'm going to go and apply for the grand jury. Because I wanted to sit on there, but I didn't want to sit on there when he was on
Listen,
there.
I'm going to continue to say what I know about Jason Anderson. Mm-hmm. He's a great human being. He's a great dad. What I saw of him years ago when he was in Ontario as a city council member, he wasn't a guy that anyone could go to. And this, I didn't do any business in Ontario. But what my friends that do business in Ontario said, Jason's always the guy who always told you where he stood. He never would do what you wanted, but he always told you what you needed to hear.
That's what I want. I want a politician that will do what's best for everybody, not what I asked them.
Yeah. And that's what his reputation is. For the George Soros camps in the world that went after other DAs in the world and didn't back the best DA candidate in California, that sucks. You lost $4 million. Should have backed Jason Anderson. At least you would have had 1 out of 5 wins in the state of California.
Now, Jason, Mr. Anderson, you're welcome to come on the show here. I'm going to be finding you on Facebook pretty soon here, and we'll ask you to come on here, and maybe you can tell us a little bit what you plan on doing for the county in the future. Keep that in mind. Carmel,
yes.
So when the police raided your house,
Yeah.
Did you feel it was politically motivated?
Yes, I did.
And
I've not fixed my door yet.
Now, Carmel didn't win her race, and the people that did that to her are still in there. So what should she expect?
I think in life you never stop believing. You never stop giving up for your ideals. You never stop believing that change can come, people can change, processes can change. So, but bad things happen for the wrong reasons, not the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And so all you do is got to keep believing. I think if you keep believing, keep fighting for what's right, eventually the right occurs. And so I'm sorry that happened to you, and I'm sorry your door's still not fixed. I know a good carpenter.
I'm
if you need a
leaving it.
little help.
I'm leaving it as proof that it happened. Okay. But I just want you to know that my daughter, the one, today's her birthday, and she's 11. So happy birthday,
Happy
Faith.
birthday.
But so we have a friend of ours who owns a lot on 21st and Waterman, and I had my signs there, and you guys put one of your Stop Ramos signs there, and she was like, Mom, I gotta have that sign, Mom. I gotta have that sign. So I was like, all right. So I just want you to know I took one of your guys' signs, but I gave it to my daughter because she just
You don't need them anymore.
She's only 11, but that Stop Ramos, she was like really thrilled, and you even got the children involved.
Well, I don't have any more of those, but I heard James Ramos's campaign crew has a few of them somewhere hidden in their garage somewhere.
Went after him. Well, yeah, those signs would have probably hurt his campaign a little bit, which I am supporting over here. So
I don't know how that happened. I think that was, one of those things in life that, blind luck somehow crosses.
Yeah.
James isn't a bad guy, by the way. James isn't a bad guy, but, he backed Mike Ramos, and you get what you sow in life.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who backed Mike Ramos now have to realize, wow, maybe we were wrong.
Well, there weren't very many of them, besides, unions. If you look at the San Bernardino County voters, that's a whooping for a 16-year incumbent. So, I think they were afraid of him more than they were real supporters.
Yeah, that's honestly what I think it was. I friended him after I met him the first time up at San Manuel Reservation at Ramos's house, and I tried to I take pictures of all the politicians. I go around and take all of them. Right? Doesn't matter who you are. I like to show the people who you are, and then it turns out that one time there was something went on, and I tagged him to show him what was going on, and he unfriended me.
Yeah.
And that tells me right then how you stand in my book.
Well, I think he should have a post-election party and put it on Facebook so me and my friends know where he's going to be one night, just so we could go have a cocktail with him.
Yeah, come on over and drink some cocktails. Now, who's the caller? Is it
Animal Shelter?
Okay. So we'll get to them in about 10 minutes. Can you have them hold off? All right. Now, I do have a question. What do you think about what San Bernardino's mayoral race right now between Mr. Valdivia and Kerry Davis, both being Republicans?
Kerry Davis has been very supportive of affordable housing. Valdivia has reached out to folks and has come around on the issue. I'm not involved in enough local politics on the local level to be able to weigh in on either one. I just think that San Bernardino County needs a real leader, whether it's San Bernardino City or the county. We need real leaders, people that are willing to take chances for us, for the electorate, for the citizens, whether it's on public safety or education or housing. We just need leaders that are willing to lead and take chances in our valley right now.
Do you have a PAC that could help candidates like that? We created a PAC for this last election. I've been getting lots of phone calls and people wanting us to be involved in many races around the county. You're probably going to see here in the next 60 days the business leaders for fair and ethical government recapitalize and probably continue to watch politics in San Bernardino County and take out bad people where they exist and support good people where they need help.
Good.
I love to hear that because more citizen groups that actually can keep a kind of an eye on what's going on, and then one that has money, we can actually make a difference.
Well, some of us don't have as much money as we used to. Mike Ramos did a really good job at hurting our business the last several years, but he didn't do good enough a job, not for us to defend ourselves. So we're hoping to make some money in the next few years, which reels to the real estate issues.
Okay.
And the Banning Pass and all the other wonderful areas in the Inland Empire and San Bernardino County where Real
So-
estate needs to do well.
So you develop affordable housing or low income housing or?
I actually, I'm a real estate developer, but in 1991, with my dear friend and original mentor, Andy Wright, created an organization called SoCal Housing, which was a nonprofit created to provide affordable housing, predominantly for single-family moms with kids, because that's what I came from. My mother raised 4 of us, and so we really tried to help in that regard. And over the last 26, 27 years, it's become one of the largest in the country. It gets awards all the time. We house 40,000 people. It's the largest in Southern California for affordable housing. And we're here at Waterman Gardens here in San Bernardino. We're helping with that. We just got a big cap and trade approval today. But
That Waterman Gardens project needed to be done. It really needed to be. I do have a question. Like, now some of my environmental friends, they don't like you because they think you're the big bad wolf developer. But just like everything, occasionally we need development because we need tax dollars to come in. How do you feel about environmental issues?
You know, all environmentalists hate development at the outset. But when you get down to the specifics, so for example, my master plan in Upland, California was completely approved by every environmental group, including the Sierra Club, when they all originally opposed it when they came out. But when they started to see how smart growth needs to occur and how people that are economically and socially conscious about both their ability, but in the environmental world, to blend both so that you can help create an environmental friendly development, because there's cost to it. So there's a weighing of cost. And I think that, you know, one of the big challenges that I'm working on besides Upland was a huge success. We've developed the biggest water basin with the best purification of natural reeds. It has a purification system before it goes in the aquifer so that the water that you drink that's potable and Upland is good. You know, all those things require technology and an understanding. But environmentalists, when they get educated and understand that growth is needed, particularly when the cost of housing is so high in Southern California, and that you blend the two, and you blend it in a socially conscious way, I think everybody wins. And so we absolutely welcome the environmentalists at the table. Really want them to explain to us their point of view so that we can sit down and help them create an organized process to helping with their endeavor, whether that's the fairy shrimp, you know, the
Kangaroo
rat out here in
My
San
main thing
Bernardino.
is cultural resources, like that Native American sites and things like that.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be because you find one artifact on a site that
I agree,
you
yeah.
should stop an entire 100-acre development.
I agree.
What you should try to do is identify it. If it can be preserved, preserve it on site. If it can't be preserved, it's a one-off artifact in the middle of something then move it to a place where it can be preserved so the Native Americans' heritage is preserved in our valley. But let's not just ignore, you know, the growth that needs to occur and the cost of housing to our children and sacrifice it for these altruistic beliefs that, you know, that we can't live up to. Because we in society have to understand progress, and progress is a blend of all issues.
And it is a balancing act between the two. I mean, you don't really want so much development where, you know, the flood control becomes an issue, right? But then you also don't want to destroy all the animals in an area. So you kind of want, like I've seen some developments where they put a corridor for nature, or they they buy properties up in other areas to protect the species better there. I just know that the same people that are complaining about how much their rent is are the same people that complain about environmental issues and things like that. So there is a definite balancing act between the two.
Well, I have family members that complain about all of them to me every day. Yeah, so, I mean, I get that personality. I just can't help them.
Well, yeah. Well, as an archaeologist, I understand both sides. I mean, I would have never got paid if there was never any development, right? And seriously, if you are a biologist, guess what? If there isn't development, you don't get paid hardly any money at universities. You get paid by these contractors contracting your company to come out and do a biological survey.
The Inland Empire has, you know, everything that you can imagine, from environmental issues to social issues to challenges that we need to solve. But it's going to require leadership from all sides, from the private sector, from the public sector, from the socially conscious bystanders, all to come together to figure them out, because we are growing in Southern California, and it's not going to stop.
It's the most incredible place on earth to me.
So what about, there are a lot of people who are leaving California.
Unfortunately, the statistics say that's the wealth, and that's not good. And if we don't fix our political system and our economic system in California and stop the fleet of businesses and high net worth
about
individuals,
10
it could hurt us.
10 local San Bernardinans I counted right around my area. I lived in my area all my life. 10 local San Bernardinans gone that were lifelong San Bernardinans. They left the state. They had money. They owned their houses. Now it's going to be a rental or something? And that's what I don't understand. Our mayor is like, well, it's doing better, everything's doing better, but even his commissioners are moving away, right? I'm like, these people have been their whole lives, and they're moving away. How can you be doing good if they're moving away?
Well, San Bernardino's got its own unique challenges.
Yes,
so,
we definitely do. It's hard to love San Bernardino, but there is a lot of people that still do.
It's honestly, I don't think it's, I'm invested in a similar town in Banning that has similar poverty issues, similar challenges economically, similar business challenges.
Had corruption issues too, right?
No, not Banning. Beaumont.
Beaumont. Oh, excuse me.
Banning.
Sorry, Banning. Banning.
Banning doesn't have corruption issues. They just have infighting.
Okay, it was the Beaumont, the big old thing blow up over there. Okay.
But with Alan Parker too.
Yeah.
But you've got to figure that out. And San Bernardino is a bigger challenge because you have such a large populace that you've got to really take care of while you solve the business problem. Banning, I really think, for the vision of Southern California, it's going to be easier because there's certain demographic profile that you can do for the area based upon, this side, the 10 and the 60 interchange for commerce coming in and leaving the state. There's real opportunities, and even though there's, they have a projected deficit, it's so small that if they can just figure it out for 3 or 4 years, 5 years, so you figure it out, you can save a community, and you can change the poverty rate being so high. But it really requires, again, leadership committed to a cause, mutual understanding. What we have gotten in our country, and both nationally and locally, we have gotten into this disagreement, and we don't try to understand the other side's perspective. And that's the part in life that we all in life need to do, whether it's in our own families or on a national political stage. We got to talk. We got to understand. We got to communicate.
You got to learn. Yeah, you don't want to hear. You always preaching to the choir, then there's not any learning happening. But like this morning at Starbucks, we had customers yelling across the whole dang store about this whole immigration issue. So I like to see us bantering and talking it all out and learning about each other. And at the very end, this is the best part, they shook hands. And
I haven't seen any of that happen.
Man, I was so happy.
I'm willing to bet that was them talking about the Mexico defeat of Germany yesterday that you heard them yelling about yesterday.
That's probably what we should be talking about, more sports and, to bring people together.
So when is the Waterman project scheduled for completion?
Oh, goodness. It's a big project. It's going to be going on for years. I think we're into our second, third phase now. We just got our fourth phase of funding. It's an ongoing process. It's going to be, it's really what San Bernardino needs. You need to take the toughest projects on and show people that you can make them better. Because, when you take on a project like that, the community thinks, I don't want those people here. But when you organize it, you make it a process where it's a better, apartment, better living conditions, better playground. Then next thing you know, you have the kids feel pride. And when they feel pride, they do better in school. When they do better in school, they become better citizens later in life. And that's what we have to do fundamentally, one day at a time, one family at a time, in every community in our country. And that's what we're trying to do in Waterman Gardens, and I think it's starting to work.
I'm going to tell you that is the nicest apartment complex in the entire city. And I tried to live there, but I made too much money. but I'm waiting until the income for myself.
Robert
'cause
Fire.
You're out of there.
I'm planning to go live there because that is the nicest. It is like the nicest.
Carmel funds this show.
There is
Just
not.
so you know.
There is not a nicer place, not a nicer apartment complex in this city than Waterman Gardens.
Carmel, well, that's very kind of you to say. And if I weren't so politically clean on my affordable housing, I'd put in a good word for you in the wait list.
I do have one more question. I am hard on Andrea Miller because she doesn't live in the city, our city manager. How do you feel about her?
You know, I don't know her personally. I've know of her reputation. It's really tough to beat up city managers when you're still a city in turmoil. Mm-hmm. And so, if you're a stable city, if you're doing great, I understand the philosophy of requiring your city managers to live here. But when you're in challenges where you're in San Bernardino right now, you never know if you're going to have a job in 6 months. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly. There's a lot of cities in Southern California that's the case. It's really hard to transform your entire family, make them make a commitment before you know you have a commitment back.
All right, well, I'll give you that much, but let me tell you, I still would love to hear that you move to the city. Please consider it. Because I feel like if there's an earthquake or something, a disaster, something bad, the first thing on her mind is not going to be what's best for us. It's going to be what's best for her kids, and she's going to be traveling in a gridlock freeway to get to her kids.
It's going to be like that regardless.
Probably.
I mean, if I was the city manager and I live in the city and all hell was breaking loose, I'd be looking for my kids before I'd be looking for anybody else.
Well, not everybody, but but if you did live in the city, you could go and check on your kids and then come back and help.
Yeah.
My son commuted to Los Angeles for 2 hours every day to go to a better school.
Mm-hmm. I commuted to Santa Monica every day for archaeology for over 4 years, but I'm done. I can't do that no more. That's what I really was wanting her to understand, that all that time in traffic, you could be at home here with your kids. Like traveling all that way has got to be detrimental to your mind too. But anyways, I'm going to try to start working with you more. Just please consider moving to our city. All right, but that's the most common sense I've heard about why she shouldn't move here. Now, I've heard excuses like, there's not good housing, like an expensive enough home or something like that, but no. But what you said, that makes sense to me. Yes, it does. And San Bernardino's poor. That's sure. Now, any other big projects before we let you go?
No, I think that San Bernardino County and its residents really needs to hold. I mean, we're a great county. I'm in the middle of writing a book right now, and I really, for a long time, played with calling the book Corrupt County USA. Mm-hmm. But it's not fair to the residents of our county.
It hurts the name, yes.
It hurts the name. And though it might be good for me for marketing purposes, it's not good for me as a person that lives here and is proud of our county. There are bad people that have gotten in our county, but it's up to us. It was up to me. It was to you when you voted to remove the Mike Ramoses. It's up to the same rest of us to remove and ask for leadership. Whether it's at the county level, whether it's a supervisor or it's a staffer, we need to start holding the county of San Bernardino accountable for its decisions. We need real leaders, whether it's in Congress or an assembly member. I mean, listen, I think Peter Guire's a great guy, but we lost a major mover and shaker when we lost Gary Miller. Mm-hmm. Gary Miller was high up on financial services. Pete Aguilar's a great guy. He's a great guy here in Redlands. Think the world of him. Nice fella. But what the heck is he doing? We need to hold him accountable.
I agree wholeheartedly, but I'd love Sandra to ask him that in Spanish sometime. Yeah, right. Well, I was on my fraternity brother Paul Chabot's campaign, so we were against him. So I didn't actually vote for Mr. Aguilar this time. I don't think I'll ever vote for him, but I don't really think he's done enough with cannabis anyway. So that's my 2 cents there. We do fight for cannabis on this show. We've been fighting a long time, and that's our main issue with Mr. Kerry Davis, because he religiously believes against it. So we're hoping to have new revenue sources come into the city by this.
Well, I have no opinion on the cannabis issue. You know, I'm a good real estate developer. If I owned a few buildings and you wanted to rent from me, then I wouldn't argue so much. But besides that, I'm out.
You want to smoke a joint after the show?
That ain't what he said, Robert.
No, I don't do that, and my children might be listening. So.
Don't do that. Only medicinal. Only medicinal. All
Robert,
right,
thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for coming on and dealing with our crazy antics and really some serious issues. And thank you for changing our
Thank
day.
you for freeing the county of San Bernardino from a lifelong resident. Thank you.
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
Ding dong.
And now we're going to have to go into some animal shelter stuff, but you're welcome to take off, and thank you, and you're welcome back anytime. Give us a call. All right, we have a caller on the line. What's up? Who's calling?
Hi, this is Alice Chow. I'm a volunteer at the San Bernardino City Animal Shelter.
We know who Alice Chow
Yeah,
is.
hi, Robert. How are you?
You're famous on I Love San Bernardino. Famous.
No. Your website, your page is amazing, and we thank you for supporting the animals and all the great residents of San Bernardino.
Yeah,
They're amazing.
We don't want to go against you, man. Like all the dog lovers came after me for having pet sales on I Love San Bernardino, so I stopped that immediately.
And you are awesome for doing that, and thank you for listening. And we're sorry some of our people are a little passionate, and so
Don't be. We need that. We need more of
yeah.
that. So
Yeah, thank you.
So the other day, out of nowhere, I had this commissioner call me on the animal control, and basically they said that the city didn't listen to them at all, and of their recommendations. Now, she couldn't share a lot because she was quiet, but from other people I've heard that they're planning on selling that animal shelter property to the water department. Now, what's your theory on this?
Well, so the property is right next to the water district. And so I don't know the full details about what they want to do with the property, but what I do know, and it was announced by the city, is that the city of San Bernardino wants to contract with Riverside for their animal services, which means that they would close down our existing animal shelter on Chandler Place, and Riverside would be now in charge of all animals going to the shelter.
You know, Alice, this is Carmel Rowe, and, I had my own personal run-ins with the animal shelter. My dog was arrested after my neighbor cussed me out and kind of got into a fight with my dog, and my dog got arrested. And some animal lovers, me and my daughter were down there visiting our dog, and my daughter was down there crying, and I was crying. And these animal lovers, they stepped up and they helped me, and they raised $2,200 for my dog in less than a week. And my dog has almost 5,000 Facebook friends today.
Oh, wonderful!
And at that time, the animal shelter was horrible, and the dogs were sitting in piss and shit, and all kind of things. And when I watched you guys all on TV, a few months ago, saying how good the animal shelter is now, my heart was so relieved. I just was like thankful to hear those things. And my take on all this is, if they were going to contract out the animal shelter, why didn't they do it when everybody was complaining about how bad the animals were being treated? And now that we finally got some progress, why do that? And then if it is, and my thought, I do believe that it is because they're going to sell the land to the water department, and then they're going to use that money to pay for the unfunded pension liabilities of the city. And I believe that wholeheartedly, and I kind of think I might maybe have heard that, within the upper management of the city. But then I also know that Cesar Millan said that he would build a dog pound. So, maybe if you guys, there's a lot that the city owns. It's on Highland and Arden, and it's some pretty decent size acreage. And they were going to build a Home Depot over there, but then they kind of got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and HUD needs them to do something. But maybe you could bring it up to them, like, hey, maybe they could build the animal shelter right there on land they already have. And then maybe, they might not be in trouble for that HUD money. and it might be something productive because you would have freeway on and off, access.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't necessarily know that they're going to listen to anybody. I plan to show up and give my
Thank
3
you.
minutes in support of you guys on Wednesday because I support the animals. I support the animal lovers. They supported me. They supported my family. They supported my
So
dog.
she's speaking on our San Bernardino City Council meeting, which will occur this Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Be there or be square.
Yes, we need all our residents to show up to speak about why the city of our size needs a local shelter.
Because we've always had one. My great uncle was a dog pound guy right here in San Bernardino.
Oh.
I personally, my child made me pick up 13 stray dogs. I housed 13 stray dogs and successfully found 13 stray dogs at home. And that was
Bless your
because
heart.
I had refused to take them to the animal shelter because it was at the time when it wasn't so good. But
Right.
there's a very big need for the animal shelter, and I don't really think that the city realizes how much love comes into this city through the animal shelter.
I agree. And so your points are so valid. And our group, our volunteer groups and our rescue groups still come together, and we still raise money for owners who want their pets back because we know the city will not allow, certain fees to be waived. So we come in and we help reunite pet owners. And we have our donors that are from all over the United States and some in other countries who follow us on social media. And when we send out a plea, like this is a dog, this is a family, we, interview them, they're a good family, they just need some help, people come together and help us so that we can help the pet owners.
How many emails have you sent them so far?
We sent, I don't know, I can't keep track, but the city officials already said, we got your point. We have enough emails. But we need to voice our opinions, and we need to, everything that people are stating is valid because it will affect the residents of San Bernardino. At Riverside, I've driven there before. It's a 30-minute drive without traffic. And on that 91 with traffic, it can take up to 1 hour one way.
And those dogs in a hot car, oh, that's no good.
And,
Right.
If you don't really know where it is, you can pass it.
It's hard to get there, yes.
Yes,
I
I
agree.
sent somebody out there, and it took them a whole 45 minutes extra because they kept driving past it or making that wrong turn right there by that, where it used to be In and Out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I missed it too. Yeah.
So,
So our concern is,
okay.
go ahead, Robert.
Your main concern is?
Well, the residents of San Bernardino were not told this until it was announced last week. So many of
that's
us
how they
have,
do everything if they just want to do it under the radar.
Well, that's right. And so we started voicing this about 3 months ago. But, we knew what we knew was the truth, and we continued to voice what was right and what was wrong. And so luckily, I think we're going to have a great turnout, but we really need people to show at this meeting, June 20th at 5 p.m., where even if you do not want to speak, you physically should be there to show support. And our concern is this. Okay, so the city is saying it's cheaper to contract with Riverside, but we will not have a local shelter, which is an inconvenience to our residents who are seniors or have no transportation. The fees for Riverside are much higher than San Bernardino. So for a pet owner to reclaim their pet, the fees are much higher. So that's a concern also. And what we're proposing as the volunteers in our rescue group is that the shelter become its own entity again, step away from the police department. The police department should only be dealing with crime.
Correct.
And we become our own entity again, just like how we were before the bankruptcy. Currently, we have no license checkers, and those are the ones who, check to see if people are up to date with their tags on their pets. And right now we have no license checker, and we're bringing in some revenue. But when we did have hired license checkers, we were bringing in 15 times the amount of revenue that we're bringing in now.
So there's a better way. There's a better way.
Yeah, so there's a better way. We can get funding. And I know pet owners, they're like, I will pay for tags just to keep a shelter open, and everyone will contribute their part. We're not asking for a lot of money. We're just asking for what other cities are asking for.
Okay, we're getting down to the end of the show, and I have one more guest. But can you tell us how to best get a hold of you? And everyone needs to be at our city meeting this Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Yes, so they can email me if they would like. But if they wanted to show up at the meeting, I will be there at 3:30. I will be there to answer questions. They can email me at Alice, ALICE, 888, so the number 8, 3 times, Chow, CHOW, @gmail.com. But I just want to squeeze this in real quick. San Manuel Indian Tribe has an interest in funding us. We would like to open our own shelter run by the rescues and the volunteers. So we eventually break away from the city. And I think we can be successful because other surrounding cities like Upland have done the same, and their shelter is amazing.
That sounds like an excellent plan, and San Manuel Band of Mission Indians has stepped up before and saved San Bernardino, so I hope they do this again.
Have you asked San Manuel to voice their opinion to the city?
Yes, so one of our volunteers went to their meetings about 3 weeks ago, and they said we are interested. But their meeting again is in August, and so because they have certain procedures, because they're such a large organization, they have to pass it with their board members and follow their procedures with these things. But we were also approached by KCAL, the radio station, along with some major donors who just contacted me the last few days saying we would like to help the shelter.
Yay!
Yeah.
That's positive.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and we're hopeful.
Well, thank you, Ms. Chow, so much. And if you can get a hold of her or be at the meeting on Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
I will be there.
All right.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for doing so much for San Bernardino.
And anytime, let us know, and please send any extra information to my profile page, and I'll share it for you, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Robert.
All right.
Okay.
Now we got Luisa. Come on, Sandra Barra. Come on here. How we doing, Luis, over there? We're going to have to be quick, but tell us a little bit about what you're planning on doing for San Bernardino.
So yes, I'm a local investor out here in San Bernardino. You might have seen my signs out there. It's I'm the one that has all the signs that say "We buy ugly houses." It's a little caveman with a wheel. My direct number. So what we do is we buy the SORI in your neighborhood. And what we try to do is we try to fix it up and make your neighborhood a better place. If you know of a house that is in need of fixing and you know the owner, to give us a call. Is it okay if I give my number?
Yeah, yes, please.
So please call me at 626-344-3132. I'm a local resident here in San Bernardino, and we do fix up the houses. There is no cost for cleanup to the owner. We buy them cash, and we close in as little as 7 days.
And do you guys then keep them and rent them, or do you turn around and resell them and create home ownership within the city?
So we do both. We have a rental portfolio, but what we usually do, 80 or 90% of our business is to buy them, fix them up, and sell them to first-time home buyers to get into their homes and start a neighborhood right there.
Which is super important because if you're paying rent, guess what? You probably could be paying a mortgage.
That's for sure.
Wow.
And the housing market game is going up right now. So I advise anybody who could get in before you can't get in and you have to wait for the market to crash again.
And Sandra Barra over here, you're running for the 2nd Ward.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes.
And you won. Congratulations.
No, I didn't. I haven't won
Not
yet,
yet.
so we're waiting for the final results.
You wanted it to make it up to the runoff.
I do.
Right.
Yes. I'm on 2nd place right now, and it's me and Benito going neck to neck.
Oh, Benito or?
But you have been. I've seen you.
I've been constantly
ahead.
higher votes than Benito, but if I end up getting certified results higher than Benito, then I do head on.
So when does that happen?
I believe July 3rd.
July 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
How close is Mr. Barrios?
7 votes.
7 votes. So this is neck and neck, huh?
Yes, and I'm very excited. This has been a fun campaign for me. So
Oh, any word on the 4th award?
I saw
no comment on the 4th one.
I saw that it's going to a runoff.
It's going
they're going to come back out on the 20th with some new numbers. But the last numbers that I saw, there's going to be a runoff.
So that's pretty. There's a runoff in all the wards that were up for.
That's what it's looking
election.
like right now. Yes.
Okay, that's positive.
So I'm
That
excited.
is positive.
Thank you.
That means that we have a choice. We have a choice.
We like choices.
Yes, we do.
And we like Sandra because Sandra knows how to read.
And as I end the show, I'd like you all to take a look at this incredible book here, Legends of the Arrowhead, and I got Native Mega Art. You can put them together. It's only $14.99 on Amazon. Legends of the Arrowhead, Native Mega Art. Now, this is Robert Porter and Carmel Rowe with I Love San Bernardino County Show, and we are
Out.
out.
My song right here.
Say you don't know me. I recognize my face. Say you don't care who goes to that.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now